set the live to Facebook. It's gonna be. Is this episode number 5? It is.
It is number 5.
Spare notes. Okay, here we go.
Yep, there it is.
Oh, what happened? My phone screen tapped out. It's always awkwardly quiet in the beginning here when we're trying to share the show.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's so weird. Coop, you've had a long day.
Very long day. Long night.
You and the
'Cause I was up
KMA
late.
team.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You guys are hitting it.
I actually just recorded Jukebox.
Yep.
So, yep. After this, it's the good thing is there's plenty of places to eat, and the Davidoff store is nearby. It's open late. So,
Oh, yeah. The Davidoff show was a great time.
yeah, yeah. But
You
I was
know
in
what?
Ybor. Yeah.
Well, no, go ahead. I'll tell you after.
Yeah, no, I was in Ybor last night. So I switched over to more greater Tampa
Right.
tonight. Yeah. So this picture is from this morning.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, what I was gonna say before was bring this down, get ready to go. Bum 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 bum. Okay, here we go, guys. We're ready to start the show. All right. Make this full screen. Alrighty, and welcome to episode number 5 of the Spare Notes series. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokingTobacco.com, and I am joined by my good friend, Mr. William Cooper of CigarCoop.com. And tonight we're going to talk about a variety of things as we do on the Spare Notes series: the haps, the do's, the don'ts, the drama, the gossips, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that's currently going on that we feel is worth talking about. William Cooper. Coop, the Scoop with Coop. He's got many names. What's up, Coop? How are you?
What's going on, my friend Matt? Yep, I'm coming at you today from the cigar city of Tampa, Florida. This is the end
Beautiful.
of a kind of a two-part road trip I've been taking over the last 10 days. And I was down here for the KMA 10-year anniversary show today, and tomorrow is the journey home, and it will feel good to get home. Where I probably will be going on a self-imposed lockdown for a couple weeks after this.
Hmm.
I tried to be careful on this trip. I don't know how. Hopefully today was the more challenging day of anything. Yeah. Um, but Tampa's just great. We'll get into it. Tampa's love it down. You've been down here, it's a great city.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have.
Yep.
Sorry, I was getting my cigar lit there.
That's it.
Um,
Unfortunately, I could have did this outside. It's just the lighting would have been terrible. So, but the internet did work down there pretty good. So the hotel has premium internet, so it's pretty good. It's been working. We just recorded jukebox, but the lighting would have been terrible.
no, it's all good
Yep.
as long as you're here.
Yep. Yep.
You're here,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
that's the most important part.
Yeah. Exactly.
So actually, what I want first of all, because it's just gonna like itch my brain, I wanted to tell you this is more of an off the air thing.
Uh-huh.
This is just for me and Coop. But
Okay.
well, actually, never mind. What I wanted to tell you was, before we were live. So you're going to the Davidoff store. You got to get the try the 110th anniversary Davidoff.
They got him there? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I had them
Okay.
at the one in Las Vegas, but they should have them at that one.
Okay. Yeah, they have everything. Jeff's got stuff like he's got pretty good inventory there. So yeah, I will check that out.
That was a really good batch.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the show.
No problem.
Um, so I'm smoking. I'm trying to figure out how I want to start this. I'm gonna start it this way. So I'm smoking the Timeless Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, I took off the Nat Sherman band because it's not Nat Sherman anymore. It's Ferio Tego. This week, I'm sure you guys have probably heard or read, whether it was SmokingTobacco.com, Cigar Coop, or any one of our peers of the media. All the stories went out that Ferio Tego has announced that they will be officially launching the brand October of this year, and that retailers will be receiving the Ferio Tego, name branded cigars um, at that time, and the Timeless and Metropolitan, the Nat Sherman continuation stuff will be coming later. But there will be two sizes, both Toros, and they will both retail at $21 per cigar. They're going to come in a 10 count travel humidor, very beautiful. Coop and I actually got to be hands on with that travel humidor at PCA 2021 in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Really nice design, nice packaging. Michael is, this is a new brand. This is a new company. It's a debut. Michael is no spring chicken or a new member to the industry. He's been in this industry for right around like 21 years, 22 years. And so it's an interesting launch, definitely going for that higher end premium, maybe all kind of ultra premium, with the quality of the cigar, the price point, the box, the style, the whole thing. Um, I think there's a topic of, does that live up to the hype that it is currently building right now? I think it's a highly anticipated release. Everyone's been talking about it. I think people have been talking about this since before he actually officially announced he was doing anything. I think a lot of people kind of suspected, when Nat Sherman announced that they were shutting down it's Nat Sherman International with the cigar division. People were saying, right out of the gate, he's gonna go start something. He's gonna go start something. And then he did. And now we've just been playing the waiting game to see what exactly he comes out with. So this is a really special release. I know there's a lot of people, you look at Mickey Pegg, someone who was in the industry for a while. He was a CAO, he was with Davidoff. He leaves the industry, he comes back, he starts All Saints. So I mean, it's not like he's the first guy to do this. There's other people who have, done this or something similar to this. I just think that this is a very unique situation, and it definitely has a lot of hype and anticipation. So that is my intro on that. And Coop, I'm gonna let you kind of get into this topic because I know that it's one that you have been uh, wanting to talk about on the show.
Okay, yeah, no, it's appreciate it. You know what's interesting is that when these brands were when Michael Herklotz was at Nat Sherman, I think two of the best projects he did were some of their more pricier offerings, and I'm referring to the Nat Sherman Sterling, which is now Timeless Sterling, and the Joel Sherman 75th which celebration, which was the 2014 Cigar Coupe of the Cigar of the Year. I mean, and which is kind of based off the Sterling. So, if there's a question, if Michael Herklotz can brand and bring a brand and a blend to development in the more ultra premium range, where you're getting into that plus $12 price point, I think he can do that. Okay. Um, and I'll kind of hold that point because I have some other thoughts on that. When it comes to the media, though, the next thing is as far as these are the Ferio Tego releases. There's the Elegancia, which is coming out of Casada, and there's the Generoso, which is coming out of Placencia. Again, they're two factories that Michael's worked with. I don't think I'd be inferring to say that Michael has probably these projects have been in the works a lot longer than January. Um, if you and here's the other thing is if you notice what Michael was bringing to market the last couple of years of Nat Sherman, it was several limited editions, and again they were a little more pricier. A lot of people were saying this was some of the best stuff he had brought to the table.
Right.
And I doubt Altria was handcuffing him. I could see the Sherman family maybe being the one to say, well, they're a little more hands-on signing off on the blend, but I could see Altria just saying, Michael, go what you got, you think. And those TAAs, those limited edition timelesses and Apocas were very well received into the market, right? So I think there's a little bit of that going for him. So there's some I heard that, I know you talked to Michael. There was some comments on the pricing. You gotta remember these cigars are not meant to sell a lot of volume, okay? Michael and Brendan's success at Ferio Tego is going to be on bringing those Nat Sherman lines back to market.
Right.
That's going to make or break him. This cigar is something I think that's a good gateway. It gives something, if you're supporting the Ferio Tego brand, it's something that you can bring in. And I think it's going to be a good product that way. But I wouldn't judge the success of Ferio Tego on this limited, is where I'm kind of going with. I mean, we can get excited about it, but again, I don't think it's going to shift the needle because if they sell Ferio Tegos out, the LEs, and they don't sell the Nat Shermans, Mike's going to have unfortunately, it's not going to be a good, and it's not going to end well. I mean, there's no other way to say that.
I would agree with you there. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that Mike's biggest I think his goal, I think overall, and I could be wrong here, and that's okay. But if I had to guess, I would say, and it might be obvious, is I think his biggest goal here is, yeah, he started Ferio Tego, and there's a Ferio Tego line, but I think his biggest thing was banking on the reputation and the notoriety and the established, recognition of Metropolitan, Timeless, Epica
Yep.
coming to market.
I agree. Yep.
I think that obviously, it's like, well, we're gonna come out with a Ferio Tego line that's got my name on it. Totally understand that. You should. But I think that you're right. If the Ferio Tego stuff goes crazy and then the other stuff comes out and it's just kind of like, for whatever reason, it's going to be difficult because, yeah, I think you bring a good point. I mean, sorry, I just lost my the Ferio Tego stuff. Um, they are limited releases. They're small amounts,
Right.
and maybe, you know maybe that change. Like if all right, let's play the what if game, right? So what if the continuation stuff from Nat Sherman comes to market, it's not doing so well, but the Ferio Tego stuff's hot. Does he pivot, abandon that, and just beef up the Ferio Tego stuff, or do you think he tries to make changes with the Nat Sherman stuff? What do you think his play is there if that is kind of what happens?
It's gonna be a tough one because he'd have to create another line, right?
Okay.
And because you can't go to market with just a $21 cigar. He's not at that point where he can do that, right? Where he can have all his regular production over $20, right? So the thing is, you extend Ferio Tego and pull him out with something new under Ferio Tego. Well, Ferio Tego is already branded as your luxury line, right? So I think he
Mm-hmm.
has to go to door number 3 and create another brand in that case. Um, but I think he's confident. Like he knows these Nat Sherman products, and they're really good products, right?
They are.
Yeah, I
Smoke.
think he's got enough confidence that he's got a good arsenal that he knows that he can bring these, reintroduce these things back to the market, and he's done it. He's done it before. He's kind of resurrected this brand before. There's no reason why he can't do it again with that. Um, so I think, like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Now, if Ferio Tego is a disaster, right, it's gonna be a big he's gonna have a big problem, right?
Yeah.
But my guess is it's not gonna be a disaster. The question is gonna become: is this a cigar that I pay $21 for? Is gonna be the question.
So we
Uh,
have a comment from Jay Davis, our good friend Jay
yep.
Davis
Hey
in
Jay.
Smoke at Dallas. Hey Jay, thanks for being here with us again tonight. We always love seeing you here. I disagree. We know the legacy Nat Sherman stuff will move with its previous supporters. If Ferrotego does well, then new retailers and customers will flock to the legacy brands. If Ferrotego fails, then the legacy brands may not grow over the previous base, which was decent but not great. Just my opinion. Interesting take.
Interesting take. Yeah. No, I can see what he's saying there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, we can play the what if game, the speculation game, the yes and no. At the end of the day, it's a product launch. I feel like lately a lot of us in the media have been involved in this, like, what to expect out of Ferio Tego, like Sunday morning on game day. Um, you know, oh, Brady and Rogers are starting today. Blah 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 blah. I feel like it's football talk.
Uh,
It's football talk. It's like, are we talking odds? Talking strategy. What we expect the outcome to be. I feel like everyone's here, given their final score predictions on Ferio Tego right now, and it's so interesting because we see shit like this all the time. Why is it now that you know for some reason, everyone's got this kind of like, and I'm not calling anyone out. I'm saying, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, like, just kind of on my own, like, why is it all of a sudden now we're really getting into such a huge discussion over, um, what to expect from this, like, like it's Super Bowl Sunday, like, what do we expect to see over another new brand launch, product launch? Is it because Michael's so well known? Is it because Michael has been so successful before, and the way that Nat Sherman ended was just kind of like uncomfortable for a lot of people, and we know Michael felt that as well, and now he's trying to pivot and go in a new direction while also, using his skills from the past. It's just very interesting to me. And I don't know if you kind of see where I'm going with that or agree with that, Coop, but that's just kind of what I've been thinking lately in terms of this whole Ferio Tego thing.
yeah. I see this. There was a discussion with some of the folks on the Coop team this week, and I posed a question to them. Was we spent so I made a comparison to Ferio Tego. You could argue, and Ferio Tego is an anticipate. It's one of the most anticipated releases,
Hmm.
no doubt about it. Okay,
Absolutely.
and we know now the details of what these releases are. Right. Um, the Elegancia is an Ecuadorian, most like it's a Habano or Sumatra over a Dominican Nicaraguan base, and the Generoso is Honduran Connecticut seed over Nicaraguan tobaccos. So we know what those are. And I posed a question. I said, look, our team spent a lot of time at the La Galera booth with Hochi Blanco. one of the this guy Ochi Blanco is an industry legend, uh, premier grower. You know, he's got a factory that a lot of people factory of choice. Now he's got his own brands. And I posed a question, and this is not to disrespect Michael. Are you more excited about what you heard out of Ferio Tego, or are you more excited that Hochi Blanco is releasing a Cameroon cigar with the Imperial Jade, and he's got his 85th anniversary cigar set that he worked with his son? And I'm going to be honest here. I love Michael, but what Hochi's doing is a lot more exciting to me. All right. A lot of media, I think, is in the Michael camp because, look, Michael's been great to the media. Michael's great. And we know Michael does great work. But I'm like, I'm putting this in stride saying there's probably some other stuff out there that's not getting the attention that I would say should get the attention. You know, is Fair Take something I want to see? Yeah. Is it? But there's other
Oh,
things. I'm just saying they're out there.
oh,
That I think.
don't get me wrong. I can't wait to get my hands on a box of Ferio Tego.
Me too. That's what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong on that as well.
Yeah,
I'm going to get the cigar. Yeah.
yeah, same thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I am very excited to get them and try
Right.
them, and you know, just to have a first edition, because honestly, you know, my prediction is he will do well. You know, Jay Davis, you know, had made a comment, you know, as a guy who has ordered 60 boxes of Ferio Tego. I'm bullish on Michael Clark's success. Yeah, no, I see that. I don't disagree with Jay at all. I mean, I don't doubt that Michael will be successful.
I don't doubt that like a guy like a Jay Davis is going to be a great purveyor of that brand. I mean,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Mike's going to work with really great purveyors, and that's going to be a key for a project like this. He's going to need a really good purveyor, and Jay's the best in the business. So, yeah,
yeah. I mean, having guys like Jay, or you know,
yeah,
a lot of good
right,
retailers around the country,
right.
it's going to be huge for him. He also has really good distribution with Davidoff, which I think is going to be key for him as well.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a whole. Yeah, we didn't even get into that. That's a whole. That's going to be the big question: is will how much will Davidoff move this brand? I mean, that's a question anytime someone takes over distribution. You know, we've some companies they make it part of the family and they do a great job with it. Um, some companies don't. Now, here's what I'll say: Davidoff does have a good track record. When they distributed ST DuPont, they did it. I think a very good job with ST DuPont. So I think they can distribute, and certainly they have the sales force to do it.
right.
But you know, you're competing with White Label, you're competing with Avo, you're competing with Camacho right now. So it's going to be key. And I'm sure Michael didn't go into this blind that he's working with the Davidoff team to put a go-to-market strategy here. So that part, I think, will be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me there. Yeah, I mean, I think that it first of all, Davidoff's big, you know, and like you said, you know, they've done well with others.
Yeah.
It's definitely good having, you know, you're starting out and you got someone like Davidoff, helping you get out there. I think that's another huge win too. He really, you know, my opinion, at the end of the day, with all these different angles or whatever, if you know you want to talk about it, I think he's got all of the tools for success. There's no reason why it shouldn't be successful. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to try it. You know, I think that one of the things Mike said to me was, you know, if people are concerned about the price, it hasn't even come out yet. You know, he was like, you know what, just wait for it, try it, and let the product
I
speak for itself.
I agree.
And I agree with that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
He has a point. I mean, it's not the first time someone's come out with, you know, a high price cigar, you know, because that's the market they're trying to target. You know,
And they don't have an offer. They don't have an offering there, and they need something to go with some of these Davidoff stores. I understand the need for that.
So you know, like perfect example, you know, there's other brands out there. Like look at El Septimo, right? They're making their splash into the United States market, you know, right now. Those cigars are priced 3 times as much as the Ferio Diego
And
set.
they got a lot, and they
You
don't have
think
the track record. They don't have a track record behind them.
no, and here's the thing: like if you think the Ferio Tego stuff is expensive, making its debut at $21 a cigar, you have El Septimo, which I actually have right here, who has cigars that range anywhere from $20 to $100 per cigar on average,
Yep.
making their debut. So if you think $21 is high from a guy who you already know. Here comes this company from Europe who's very, very expensive, making their debut in the US market. Um, talk about go big or go home, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, yeah, they've been successful in other markets and other parts of the world, and they're in they're in multiple industries.
Yeah.
Um, but the Americans are different than the Europeans and the Asians, and so again, it's not like anything's guaranteed. So I think you let it speak for itself. We'll see what happens, and then when it comes out, and we can actually get our hands on it and try it and experience it, then we
Yep.
can kind of go from there.
Yep. And like I said, I think it's going to be objective. This gets into a scoring. I know you guys are, well, at least what I do. So I want to just mention one thing that this cigar could be $100. That doesn't affect the score how we score it. We do a value rating, which is different, right? Which the price is incorporated, but it won't matter. So if this is a $21 cigar, right, it's going to score as if it was a $4. Like if the performance is what I judge and what Ben does on it, the price will not adjust that score. We may
Right.
say, hey, it's worth this price or not worth this price. So that gets into like, for a $90 cigar, 90 points, excuse me, a 90-point score for a $21 cigar versus a 90-point score for a $10 cigar, it has different values. So, but
Right.
it won't change the merit score. So we'll just score it how it is, and that price point goes out the window.
Now, what was I gonna say? Um, let's talk maybe a little bit about the legacy brands.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
what do you expect them to be? Do you expect it to be identical? Do you expect them to be maybe a little bit better? That Michael has full control over how it's put together now versus being under the umbrella of someone else. What is your expectation on that stuff coming out?
I'm gonna say, based on my conversations with Michael, that he feels that those cigars were consistent performers. And his job is going to be, at a minimum, keep the performance level as is, and if he can improve it in some way, he will. But I don't think he's going to touch these things a lot. And I don't think he's going to touch the blends. I don't think he's going to touch the packaging. I think he's got a lot of faith in his partners, which is mostly Plasencia, Casada, and there's a little bit of Davidoff makes in there as well. So I think he's going to keep, from Michael's been always saying, I have faith in these partners. I've been working with them for a long time with these. So I don't expect any radical changes with that. Maybe I see some SKUs adjusted and things like that, but otherwise, and maybe maybe brings certain SKUs in now and holds off on some other ones.
Yeah, I agree. I think they, like we were saying before, those brands should really be the driving force behind Ferio Tego, and then the Ferio Tego stuff should be second.
Yeah.
To his success. I my gut feeling tells me he'll be okay. And it's very exciting to watch him roll it out. But
I doubt you can be able to just bring Ferio Tego in and cherry pick that without bringing the other stuff in.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't said that, but I mean, based on there's limited allocations of this stuff, I can't see him not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to require that. I mean, that's what they should be doing with Ferio Tego.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too.
Yeah.
Just like if you're an Arturo Fuente retailer, you're not getting Opus X if you're not selling 858s and
No, no. And like I
Magnum
said,
R and
and
all that
look,
other fun stuff.
the good news is these cigars are good cigars. I mean, they have proven track records all around the board. We've been those legacy brands, Timeless, Sterling, Panamericana, they've all done very well on Cigar Coop and now Smoking Syndicate. Ben's been reviewing this stuff for as long as I have. So we know the track record's there, and he's saying it's not going to change. I can say that when they went through the packaging makeover in 2017, or excuse me, 2018 is when they did that. That's when they rebranded it. I didn't see any changes in the quality. I thought the cigars were smoking just as if they were 3 or 4 years before that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have a lot of that part. I have faith in that he ain't gonna fuck up that. He ain't gonna fuck that up.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. So one of the other things I know you wanted to talk about was travel humidors on planes. These I'm going off of the notes you gave me.
Yeah, I threw you some spare notes this week.
Yeah.
Um,
What's that all about?
okay, so let me. I have props here.
Was there an incident that happened?
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
here we
but it
go.
wasn't on a plane. All right, this is not gonna. All right, you can see my travel humidor, right?
Yes.
All
It's
right, I'm
right
gonna
in front of you.
this. By the way, this is not to
Oh, I
pick
have
on.
one of those.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I took this travel humidor. It's a lovely travel humidor. I could throw a lot of cigars in here, right?
Hmm.
And I put it in my backpack. Took it on the plane. I had no problems, right, with this. However, I get into where I was staying in California, and I was going to go out for a walk along the Bay Area of San Francisco. I was staying over in Emeryville, so this thing was in the air for 5.5 hours, right? So I go here, I go to open this thing. This thing is sealed like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah, from the air
I
pressure in the cabin.
well, okay. So I have normally I take all right. Normally I have ways to deal with this, right? I had nothing to kind of pry this open.
Hmm.
Is all I can say is I had nothing, right? So I tried the plastic fork. That was a miserable failure. I finally went down to the lobby. I had to ask them for something. I'm like, because I didn't have anything to pry it open. And and believe me, this thing was when I say this thing was sealed, it was sealed. And then you hear the air come right out of it, right? The pressurize come right out. So this is not a new problem, right? So how do you deal with this? Is the question, right? Because a lot of people can't carry like a blade or something like that on a plane,
Well,
right?
hold on. Are you asking me what an idea is, or do you already have the solution?
I'll ask you, and then I'll tell you an alternate solution I came up with.
Because I have a solution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, it's interesting because it's not it doesn't really it doesn't affect it doesn't apply to every
Right.
one of those plastic snap seal
Right.
lock
Right.
thing. What I use, which is different, and it still happens, but it's not as bad. Um, I use Pelican cases, like the Pelican brand ones.
They're great. They're great.
And I use because I take two of them. I don't know the model number, but I mean they're about it's hard to judge on camera, but a big enough to fit like a 9mm pistol into with a couple of mags, which
Right.
is what I imagine a lot of people probably use them for. And I have two of those, and I had I took the plug and play out,
Right.
and I have a foam sheet on the bottom and then a lid, and I just throw them in there. But it has the valve in it. It has the pressure valve that you can open,
Right.
and it'll let the pressure out, and then you can open the lid. Because remember, those are meant to be submerged underwater,
Yep.
to go up in planes and stuff like that. They're made to be tough all over the world. So that is one solution. You could get one of those, and you don't have that problem. But I'll let you give your take on
All right. So there's a couple of things. That
that.
was one is they do sell some cases that have pressurized in it. Um. All right. So the key thing is, you might not want to seal the case. Is the first thing, right? Now I know they protect your cigars and everything, right? So I actually used a little when I came back. I just wanted to try it. So I got some duct tape. I borrowed some duct tape from the hotel and I kind of duct taped it loose. So with this one, I was able to get it. So the cigars it didn't pull the seal. I left just a little room because I just wanted to test that and see what happened going back, right? Again, you kind of defeat. I know you don't want to defeat the purpose of having the hard case because it does protect your cigars, but that's the first way to do it. The second way, and I didn't try this, is you could kind of put something. Let me see if I could get this in front of the. You could actually wedge something to come out of there, like some of the cellophane or something like that,
Right.
and that will just give it a little bit of room there.
Don't give the
Uh,
rubber gasket a complete seal,
don't right.
because the more pressure goes on, the tighter that thing will go, and
Yeah,
then it'll
yeah,
stay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So so those are the two things I would recommend if you don't have something that like if you got like one of those cutters and it has a little sometimes they have a little awl or something on them. you can kind of get away with that, and that's the easiest way to handle it, and then you can just kind of stick it in there, and it will lift it up right away. But sometimes you're not going to be in that position where you could do that. So that's that. The other thing what I will recommend is this was now in the car. We always talk about Bovida.
Yeah.
If you're going to Florida this time of the year, don't put Bovida in there. I got to Tampa last night, and unfortunately the cigars, they felt too humid
Yeah, they were wet.
compared to when I went to California and came back, because I had some of the same, and I lit up about 3 cigars. I'm like, these things are all wet. So actually, I'm using this as the prop right now, but pull the Bovida out at this time of the year. You don't need it if you're going to Florida. If you're going someplace where it's like, if you're going to Illinois and it's not as humid, check your weather forecast is what I'm going to tell you on that as well, because you just might not need it. And like I said, these cigars were wet last night, and I was like, they got wet pretty fast, and there was heat also in my car from driving. So those are just my travel tips. I kind of was like I said, when the humidor when the unit locked up on me, I said, that's a good spare notes thing. I know we try to do some tips there, and folks may have other tips. So people might say I'm off my rocker, and there's some other stuff that we've said.
Yeah, we got Mike says I put my cigars in a Ziploc bag, then put in the travel humidor, and I leave a corner of the bag out and
That's
close.
that's
That's
kind of
true
what
too.
that's
You
a great idea. Actually,
break the seal.
you break the seal, and you get because you want the protection that the hard case is going to bring. I really like that one, actually, and this is a perfect one to do it because I could take out the divide. There's like a divider. You take out the divider, and yeah, I can easily put a zipper. That's a good one. I like that one.
The while we're kind of on travel accessories for
Yep.
cigar stuff,
Yep.
people who travel with lighters. Now, I asked Carney about this, but Carney is real basic. He uses the DG fucking regular, yeah.
These
DG.
things.
Nah, this regular soft flame.
Go D Jeep. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was no help because that doesn't really give me any good content on that. But what I noticed, a lot of people ask me this too, like, well, what do I do with my lighters? What do I do with my lighters? Like, I want to bring my lighters. I don't have to like wait, go to find a place to go buy, whatever. Because torches technically are banned from luggage, um, on the plane, and they can be taken. Now, I've traveled with my torches. I empty them completely. I throw them in the shaving kit in my checked luggage. I have a side
Right.
pocket within that's a little hard to find, and I stick it in there, so that even if it comes up, like it's in there with all the trimmers and stuff, and it whatever. And if they go looking for it, it won't be as easy to find. But I never had an issue. But some people get a little more paranoid. I don't check any expensive or rare one of a kind torches when I go. Like I always keep something simple,
Right.
just in case. But people have said, well, it says, you can get, the TAA approved enclosure for lighters in your checked luggage, which I think is a requirement on the lighter policy or whatever from the sorry, not TAA, the TSA. Um, on the TSA guidelines for checking certain types of lighters and stuff in your luggage. Have you ever used any of those, or have you ever abided by those guidelines, or like what is your situation on traveling with lighters?
Yeah, I've never used those because I've heard mixed things about them. Look, in the last few years, you've seen a surge of these plastic lighters. They're all plastic. Let's see if we can try it again. You can see this is a JC Newman branded one.
Oh, how appropriate.
I just got that one today. A Balmoral one that I've had for a while. There's a Nova one.
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, and here's the thing: they're 100% plastic. I had 40s going to California. Okay. Now, normally what I do is this is what I use. I use these because the only place I've ever had a problem getting these lighters out of is Nicaragua. Nicaragua, they will take them.
Mm-hmm.
I took these to Cuba. and back. All right. So I've never gotten stopped with these lighters. Okay. And then what I typically do,
You can find them at gas stations too.
yeah, they're
They're
easy
pretty
to
easy to
find.
find, and
They're
they're not
pretty
that
easy to find.
expensive.
Yeah. Now what I do is when I land, I buy butane. San Francisco wasn't a good option to do that. Kind of when I went to San Francisco, that was hard, right?
Okay.
Um, but the idea is I buy a can of butane if I'm there for more than a couple of days, and I don't take the butane back with me. So when we had the media compound, the first thing I go in Vegas to Fuego, I get butane for us for the week. So I've done that, a lot. Is I go buy butane. So we have that. But I would recommend these lighters. Now the other thing I've seen, um, Craig Vanderslice of Cigar Craig, he's got some sort of contraption where you could take the Bic lighter and put it in this harness. I don't know, this case or whatever, and it will convert the Bic lighter to a torch.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So I've seen them. I meant to buy it and I never did because he had told me about it, and then these lighters started hitting the. Let's try it again. When these lighters started hitting the market, I just went with these things after a while. But yeah, they do have something like that, where it actually will convert the Bic lighter. You haven't been to Nicaragua yet, right?
No.
The lighter situation sucks in Nicaragua because
Why?
even if you take these, you can't get butane when you have to refill them. And these
Ah,
things don't hold a lot of butane, right?
no, they don't.
So you're always using Bics in Nicaragua. If someone would start a lighter business in Nicaragua and get you adequate butane, you can. You have to get some of the factories have it, right? But you gotta. It's like a pain in the ass, right? Bics are the worst thing on these factories. The Dominican Republic's a little easier to get butane, but Nicaragua's horrendous about it.
Right.
So I could take these, and then I don't want to take a lot of these because what happens is they confiscate them out of Nicaragua. So anything I know is I know it's going to be confiscated. So it's kind of like it's disposable at that point for me.
It's interesting. We're talking about lighters, we're talking about butane and whatnot. Um, I think this is an interesting one. I don't because I ran into this earlier this year. Um, and I kind of went through it briefly, and then I just was like, I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna do what I want to do.
Right.
But I am a DuPont owner. I have line two. I have MaxiJet, the Slim Seven. Um, all different ones. I'm a big DuPont user. Just kind of my preference. But a lot of people, if you don't know about DuPont and kind of how they market their lighters and the policies and stuff that they try to enforce with it, um, by the book, they want you to buy their butane, and it's color coded,
Right.
and it's got a dye in it,
Right.
and you got to use the right stuff for the right lighter.
Right.
And when I had the Slim and the Maxi Jet, I was like, man, whatever. I use the regular butane. I didn't give a shit because I'm like, you know what, whatever. If it breaks and they don't want to do it because of the warranty and whatever, I'll buy another one. I don't care. Those are not like that expensive. I mean, they're expensive for a lighter, but they're not like, it's not gonna kill me. Now, when I got the line two, now obviously this is a much more expensive lighter,
Yeah.
and if you know, you know. But I was a little more cautious because I'm like, all right, this is one of those things where if something happens to it, I want to send it in. You know, I don't want to get shit for not using their special lighter fluid. Heaven forbid, right?
Right.
Because it'll be a little bit more expensive to replace.
Right.
So I was trying to get like the red fuel for. I think this one takes. I think this is red fuel. I'd have to take the cap off. I think this is the red fuel because there's the red, the gold, the blue. Yeah, it's red. And I went to. Where did I go? I won't say who, but I went to one of my local shops, and I was talking to some of my peeps there, and like they had like the old style red cans, and it wouldn't fill this. And then I found the new style red cans at one retailer, and it did work. So I don't know if they changed the nozzle, or whatever. And then but the can of fuel, it's like $20 for like
For a little.
a little small can of fuel,
Yeah.
and it's just like look, I spent the money on the lighter because I wanted it, whatever, and I know the lighter will last me. But like, I really need to spend $20 on fucking fuel for the lighter? I mean, come on. So I had that short window of like I wanted to play by the rules, and then I thought about it, and I was like, I don't give a shit, and I just put the regular stuff in here now. I mean, God forbid if something happened to it,
But like,
I
yeah,
would
you,
I would bleed it, clean it. I would buy a can of their
uh,
fuel, and I'd try to flush it through so it looked right and send it in. But I mean, I just use the Calibri. I got like a couple of these cans. I keep them all over the house. We fill all the lighters with them. Between me, Nicole, and her brother comes over all the time. He's got lighters. He needs fuel. And I just use one of the. I just have a couple of those. But have you run into, do you own DuPonts, and have you ever tried to play that game with them? Or I just think it's interesting because we're kind of in that topic, and I'm sure that there's some people out there who'll be like, always use the DuPont fuel. I for what? I mean,
I have a slim and I have a line as well, line two.
yeah,
Um, so because I have the line two, I'm in the kind of same boat. I don't mess with it. I use the same butane on the slim. The thing is, I don't really use those lighters as much as I they're there, and I just don't use them a lot.
yeah.
uh, because I don't want to wear and tear them. I don't know why I have them, right?
They're too nice, so it's like you like having them, but you don't want to use them.
Yeah, like these things, like yeah, they're. What I will say is all
I mean,
butane is
I only use my DuPonts in the house. I don't
yeah,
like travel with them or
yeah.
even go to like shops with them.
No,
I use them here.
what I will say though, I could tell you that all butane is not created equal.
Right.
That part I will say to you, and I will say without a doubt, the best butane on the market is the Zycar High Performance.
Really?
It's in the black can with the blue letters. When I tell you I have resurrected lighters with that. What that does, and we had Jimmy Miuto on primetime a couple months ago. Whatever that butane is, when it goes and kind of liquefies, it's kind of like a heavier. It's heavier, is the best way to describe it. Whatever goes in there, and you get a heavier flame. I mean, you'll see the difference if you use that high performance versus another premium, or even Zykar's regular premium. The high butane has extended the life of my lighters,
Mm.
is what I'll tell you. Now, I haven't used them in the DuPonts, though. I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't, because I don't want to mess with it, right? Maybe on that slim, I'll do it. I have actually two slims. So I shouldn't say that. One I got is the Davidoff Golden Band Awards. Maybe I'll try it in that. But I could definitely tell you all butane's not created equal.
See, that's like an interesting topic because it's not something that I feel like people talk about, like butane, because it in the surface it sounds so stupid, like fucking butane. But you bring up a good point there. Not all butane's the same,
No,
depending
I
on
mean
how
this.
it's
Yeah.
refined and made and processed and canned and what
Right.
what what
Right.
stuff is put into it. Um, you know, I think in regards to like the DuPont thing, first of all, not saying you're wrong. I agree with you. But I think
I'm
that
not saying you're wrong. I just have been conservative on it. Yeah.
95% of the reason why they're trying to tell you like you should use our fuel in our lighters because they want
All
you to,
right.
they want to sell more fucking fuel. That's what
I
it is.
I, I
They don't
agree.
give it
Calibri did the same thing for a long time too.
because Calibri. I put Calibri fuel in a $1,500 DuPont lighter and it fucking lights. I mean, it's not like it's
Right.
magic fuel. But at the same time, you know, I can understand, maybe what you said, not for them, but when you said like, yeah, not all fuel is the same. You got to, you should source good fuel. Um, I've used Zycar fuel as well. It is good fuel. I've never had issues with Calibri fuel. I think that's a decent fuel too. I would say be cautious of like you go on Amazon
Yeah. Do
or just kind of anywhere online and you see like these like off-brand butanes and
yeah.
maybe they're made for you know other kinds of lighters or whatever, or maybe it's a just like it's an off-brand or whatever. just be careful with it. I think Ronsinol now makes a, or maybe they always have. I don't know, but I feel like I saw recently like they have a butane can in addition to like the lighter fluid that
Right.
they have for like a Zippo. But I mean, my stance on it is like Calibri, Zycar. I know that they make lighters. They're involved in the cigar industry. I feel okay using them. Anything else, like Jimmy's butane, I'm not using. Um,
Except for Jimmy Mojito's butane from Zycar.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
yeah,
fuel is fuel.
yeah,
You can use what you want. But I saw an opportunity there for an interesting, take on that. But
yeah.
yeah,
No,
I
I
just
agree.
wanted to say, it is ridiculous, and most people know that, but that was just kind of my experience with it, and I wanted to just kind of get your take on it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Matt, you bring up a good point. You want to go with someone who has a butane who's in this business, right? Who's going to sell a can of butane that's going to support a product, right? Like, for example, Calibri. Okay, they want you to use it on the Calibri products, right? But you know what? They're not going to sell you shit butane, right? Because they don't want this thing clogging up this thing, right? Same with Zycar. And I'll say this, I have really been impressed. We spent a lot of time at the trade show with Quality Importers. I top to bottom, I was impressed with their products, their branding, their brand delineation. I was very impressed with what they were bringing to market. I think, and they got, they're not okay. They're not ST DuPont, right? They're not going to compete with ST DuPont.
no,
But for the everyday smoker, um, and actually they still have the lifetime warranty on the Zycars. And if you want something a little less expensive, you can go for Paleo lighter. It doesn't have the lifetime warranty, but you get something a lot cheaper that way. So I was very, very impressed with what they've been doing the last couple of years. With that. So again, I would go to a can of, like you said, pick on Jimmy, right? Don't go to Jimmy or Johnny's butane because it's cheap. Go with someone who's making butane to support their products they're making.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's a really good point.
good, good set of advice there.
Yeah,
While
yeah.
we're still on accessories, you
Hmm.
want to talk about um there's been a conversation amongst people the last couple of years over the quality and the warranty with Zycar cutters.
I can be honest, I haven't used it. So I haven't used it. The only thing I could tell you is they made it a lot easier to streamline the process to get your thing in there.
Right.
You could do it all online now. You used to not be able to do that.
People have been saying, and there's people who's probably been around much
Right,
longer than me. I get that. I'm sure shit's different.
right.
People are talking about how like, oh well, the quality in Zycar cutters has dramatically declined over the last 5 years or whatever, and the more you used to be able to send them in and get like a brand new replacement, like now like the warranties are the same, blah, blah. Look, I use a Zycar XO as my everyday throw around cutter that
I
I
actually just
carry
got
with
one
me.
of those. Yep.
It's $100. I've had it for like 2 years, 3 years. I use it every day. That's the cutter I keep with me everywhere I go. Great cutter. I don't have never any issues with it. Cuts great, sharp, still
Hmm.
sharp. Once in a while I give it the soak, to get all the just the build up and the pectin and all that gets on it. Give it a soak, let it dry, wipe it, clean it, take
Uh,
care of it, and that's it. I
alcohol.
haven't
I use alcohol to soak mine.
really
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I've had the conversation with Carney too. Cutters are cutters. I mean, obviously there's better quality cutters than a lot like the giveaway ones you get, the little flimsy ones with the yeah, sometimes they don't last. I've had them break, whatever. Having a decent cutter is nice to have. It'll last you almost a lifetime as long as you take care of it.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to lighters, we already kind of touched on lighters a little bit, but it's like, lighters never just seem to last, and I've had this conversation with John. I forget what the conversation he had. He was telling me he had a conversation with someone else. It was like, why is it that as an industry, we've never just been able to make a good, reliable lighter that it doesn't fail? Um, And and it's true. There's a lot of lighters out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
that they just don't last.
No.
Luckily for me, I use
T-
a lot of Zycar and DuPont. And I've
yeah.
never really had any issues with those two. But I know like I've had other brands of lighters, and like after, like I've had Lotus lighters. I had a Lotus lighter that I loved. It was a flip top four
Mm,
torch.
right.
That was like my favorite lighter for the longest time. It was huge, and everyone gave me shit for it, but I just loved it. And the spring broke on the lid, and like it was like, yeah, that's just dead now. And it's just like it was so disappointing because it was like I forget what it was, but it was a good lighter, and it was just like, all right, and it didn't last long. You know what I mean? That was the thing. It didn't last long. Like I loved it. I used it like for
Yeah.
a whole summer, and I got to the fall and the thing snapped, and I was like, oh wow, that's great.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Like I said, I've extended lighters that I thought were dead with better butane with the high performance. It hasn't prevented an early death, but it's extended the life, is what I'll say. In particular, the problem of clogged jets, I find
Oh, the
is a
big
little.
one.
That's a big one. That's the number. Then it's the mechanical things. That's wear and tear is just eventually gonna take its toll. What's funny? I tended to use more Calibri cutters than Zycar. And I always use Zycar lighters. I just, obviously Calibri, and I'm not a V cut guy, but I have the SV cut. You know, and why I got it, I have no idea because I don't V cut ever, right? But I
Right.
have,
Me either.
but I have a nice big one on my conference table in the studio that I'll use. Let me tell you, I've had a Calibri cutter, okay, that I got. It's one of those I forget what it's that classic design. They
Hmm.
gave it to me at the 2010 IPCPR. Like they gave it. It was an IPCPR branded cutter. All I do is clean that thing, and 11 years it still works.
Wow.
I don't leave the house with it because it's IP. It's got the IPCPR logo. So
Right.
they make a hell of a cutter, Calibri. And like I said, all I do is keep it clean, and I don't abuse it. Do I use it every day? No, but I mean, I tend to rotate through my cutters as well, just to kind of give them some work. That's another thing. Rotate through your cutters and lighters is another thing, because you don't want this way, if you kind of extend the life of them altogether.
Yeah. Proper care of all your tools is number one. I mean, you should
Yeah,
always do that.
absolutely.
What is it that I wanted to tell you? Or ask you, sorry,
No,
rather.
that's okay.
Oh, PCA thing. There's a PCA thing I wanted to ask about. I'm not like being on one side or whatever. I just like generally just I'm like, oh, like this is an open, just want to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
Because I heard some conversation about this from some of the PCA critics. So I want to get
Okay.
your comment on this. So a
Okay.
lot of or maybe not a lot. I heard a small section of people online talking about um the PCA just off of a trade show. Um, everyone was just out there, you know, making money, whatever. And right after the trade show ends, these emails keep going out looking for donations for money. And there was some hate talk going on about that. And I thought it was a little interesting. And I figured I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So there's like a hey, we got to raise $60,000 in 60 days.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I heard a lot of people kind of talking about it and kind of being hating on it. And I don't know if,
It's a good topic.
yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of being like, well, the PCA claims, like they made X amount of money, whatever, or they went blah 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 blah, and then like a month later, they're begging for money to get to $60,000 in donations that they need. What do you take away from that discussion? Because I think it's
Uh,
interesting.
okay. I'll beat the PCA up on something. I'm not gonna beat him up on this.
All right, Jay,
Listen.
get ready.
Okay. No.
Coop's coming for you.
Yeah. All right. So listen, the the PCA gets beat up way too much. Okay,
Mhm.
I mean, it's they're a punching bag. It's been like this for 11 years. Look, sometimes it's justified, right? Most of the time, it's not, right? They need fundraising.
They do.
Okay, they need to fundraise, and you know what? They went out and they put together a fundraising campaign, and I'm seeing a lot of retailers and a lot of manufacturers and to go to that. Good for the PCA to do that. Okay, there's nothing wrong. And guess what? They didn't have as many. They didn't take in the revenue at the show. Maybe they wanted to do a smaller booth, right? There were less attendees, right? They didn't have any trade show last year. I beat up the Boutique Cigar Association, right? Because they never tried to fundraise a dime, right? And you've heard of the Boutique Cigar Association, right?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
How can you be an association and not try to raise a penny? All right, they didn't raise it, and they want to have like leverage and a seat at the table, but they don't want to raise a dime. Look, the PCA is doing what they need to do. They're trying to they need to raise money right now. I think this is a great idea. Now you want to argue it's right after the trade show? Okay, I mean, I could say maybe wait a month or so, but they need to be doing fundraising things throughout the whole year. So I'm
Yeah.
going to defend them on this, and I'm going to say good job by the PCA on this.
Yeah, I mean, the PCA at the end of the day, half of their existence is to fight battles, the other half is to
All
raise
right.
the money to fight the battle. So, yeah, they're doing their job.
Look,
It's
you
kind of
need
the
to
whole
do.
point.
I've been beating up the Boutique Cigar Association for 2 years because they have not tried to raise a penny.
And they're
The
a
hell,
much smaller organization than PCA.
believe me, even if they raised a few $100s here and there, it's better than absolutely doing nothing but bitching and complaining like they do all the time. The Boutique Cigar Association. But I'm going to go on a rant on that. I don't want to go too much into that.
Oh, we
But
can if
that would
that's
be
what it is. If you want, if you
yeah,
just like are wait, if
well,
you're afraid to, that's one thing. But if you're worried about
I want to
time,
be.
like we got
Let's be.
time for that.
Let me be more prepared for that in the future. Okay,
All
because
right.
in fairness, I think their heart's also in the right place. So, but I'll just say I have been all over when I see a quote unquote, it used to be a trade association, not try to raise a penny. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's a problem. PCA is doing what they need to do. Good job by the PCA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think that the PCA is, they're doing whatever they can. It has been a rough couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
The trade shows have not been as successful as they used to be. They
Right.
do have things that they need to work on. They're aware of that. We
They're
all
aware
know
of
that.
that. They
We're
need to
all
do
aware of
that.
it.
They need, and you know what? They need to. They're not sitting back on their ass and doing it. They're being proactive here.
Yeah, they're doing whatever they can. They're not just
Right.
like, well, we'll see what
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're look. I think it takes a lot of guts and a lot of
We've seen
pride.
what Pete Johnson's doing too behind the scenes. We all know Pete Johnson. He's working behind the scenes with manufacturers right now. So, you know what? I think they have to attack this in a lot of different ways.
So I'm just reading the
Mm.
the BCA does nothing to support PCA or fight regulation.
Who
They are just talk blah
can
blah
I ask who
blah.
said that? I won't unless they don't want they put it out there. I just don't have access to the comments.
Oh yeah, no, it's Jay Davis.
Good for Jay Davis. I figured that. The BCA is an absolute joke. Okay. But I also think their heart's in the right place. I just don't understand what purpose they serve. Other than I think they're a social group that doesn't,
The
but
BCA.
the BCA, the Boutique Cigar Association.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who actually?
Good guys. And there's good guys on there. I'm like, how do you not fundraise? How do you not fundraise? I just keep going to, you know, how do you not go to a PCA trade show and see what it's all about? It's just, before you bitch about it.
Right.
That's a whole argument. When people bitch about the trade show and have never been there, I have a real problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
People who it's just ignorance. It's when you comment on stuff and you don't know enough about
Look,
it.
I
It's
had a
just
big
ignorance.
problem with there were people who stayed home this year, right? Who bitched about the trade show, right? Like they saw a picture, right? Oh, trade show's dead. Like you're not there. You don't know what's going on. Like, you know, can I pick on the PCA now?
Mm-hmm.
What is the PCA doing having this event in Washington D.C. in October, in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, that the NRA, who you said, the NRA just canceled their convention. Like, I don't know. That I have a problem with. I mean, why are you going and introducing this, right? And then are you gonna? What if they have lockdowns and stuff like that? You're gonna create. Do you want to have another Drew Estate situation or something? Hold off on that. You want to do that? Do it next year. I don't see that why you have to do that now. That's just my opinion on that. We're in a pandemic,
Hmm.
despite what some people say. We are in a pandemic, and that part I don't understand.
I'll play the devil's advocate here.
Okay,
I can see both sides of it. I see your side of it as someone
yeah,
who is concerned, with the pandemic and the health
right,
and the safety. Get it? You can
yeah,
never deny that,
right,
no matter who it is or what it is. I think that there is a level of comfortability that everyone, um, cigar industry or not, just everyone, but maybe not everyone, but the majority has grown back into, um, over the last 6 months or so. And a lot of it has to do with vaccine confidence.
right.
Um, and people are just kind of in this place where, you know what, like we got vaccines now, and like we can always wear the mask too. Like we have enough to be safe. And that's why you're still seeing a lot of people rolling on with, events and stuff going on. Like there's still
Uh,
concerts, professional sports games, there's still filling stadiums and arenas and venues and
yeah.
stuff like that right now. Um,
Oh yeah. I mean, look, I went down to Abe's thing today, but I'll tell you, I'm gonna be completely honest. I committed to it, and I lived up to the commitment.
mhm,
If I hadn't committed to it, I wouldn't have gone.
mhm.
That
And I
and
get
Abe's been
that.
very and it wasn't a huge amount. I mean, it was, but I'll tell you what, of my travels, today was the most nervous I was coming out of something because I interacted with a lot of people without a mask on and people I didn't know. That was the one thing that that I could say I came out nervous with more than anything was today doing the 25th anniversary. Not blaming anyone, but I mean, I look at Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival and I'm there's
You're
absolutely no social distancing going on with that thing, and I'm very disappointed from what I'm seeing. I mean, they didn't even try out there to have a. It just seems like, man, sure, it's a great festival and people having a great time, but again, we're in a pandemic. You have a lot of people coming up from Florida, which is right now becoming one of the epicenters down here of this pandemic. So
right.
yeah, so but I get what you're saying too. Yes, we have vaccines, and yet we have to get on with things. We have to get on with things. I just don't think you need to do this thing right now. I just I don't know. I'm seeing things get canceled, and now you're having an event, which is a rooftop of it's outdoors. It's over 100 people. It's not like it's a 25-person event. That's what I'm saying. So I just question who made that decision. I think it's a bad decision.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually a little surprised it didn't get canceled because we've already seen a lot of things get canceled. Drew Estate canceled all their stuff. They had some
Yeah,
big
yeah,
events.
yeah.
Cigar Fest was canceled.
Yeah. Espinoza just canceled. Now Espinoza's
Espinoza
can't.
just canceled.
Now I'll tell you about Espinoza for a second. That's the one that should have canceled more than anyone. Not because they put on a great event, but that is an indoor event in a warehouse that's crowded. So I totally understand why they had to pull the plug on that.
Right.
It's just I could tell you that because I've been to that event 4 times and it's a great event, but I understand that some of these other ones were outdoor events that were canceled. So um, I know again, I don't know. I look at I just think that's setting a bad. Here's where I'm kind of going with this. If you look at the PCA as kind of the setting the tone for the industry, setting the example for the industry, you're basically setting the example saying, well, I'm not worrying about pandemic going on as is. That's just kind of how I read it. That's just kind of how I read it.
Right.
And I think, I just think it was the wrong decision. But I'm not saying we shouldn't have events or anything like that. But I think when you get into when you get into the numbers of 100, that's where I'm kind of. We really should be backing off those right now until we kind of come out of this again.
Do you think the Big Smoke will be canceled in Las
From
Vegas?
the body language I heard, from what I read right now, I'm going to say no. I think they're going to go through this one with hell and high water. I think I read some things already that doesn't affect.
Because remember, they weren't at PCA, and Cigar Aficionado has been very cautious with this whole situation.
That's the one thing, yeah. So it's interesting. That's a really good point. They've been cautious about it. I think they're going to have to make the call by about September 15th if they're going to cancel these or not. I don't think they want to. They've canceled it. I feel bad for them. They've canceled this thing 3 times. The Miami one's been canceled 3 times.
Right.
So I think they might have already pulled the plug on it. I think they're watching the Vegas. I don't think Vegas. I think it's going to be Vegas is going to make it very. I don't think they're going to shut Vegas down again unless it becomes like the epicenter. I think they learned the lesson. They almost killed their city with that. So I don't think they're going to. Yeah.
The images of those casinos with the slot machines off and the lights off.
I mean, that was truly this 24 hours. I mean, you could go there on Christmas Eve and it'd be packed.
To see those casino floors dark with machines off was scary.
Yeah. No,
because,
it's
like
true.
you said, that city does not. That's really the real city that never sleeps. I don't give what they say, but that is the city that never sleeps.
Yeah,
it really doesn't. More than New York.
No, it's true. Like
it doesn't.
My dad has gone to Vegas at Christmas time, and I can tell you, he's been at Christmas Eve, and the casinos are packed. So it truly isn't. And to see that happen was it's surreal. Yeah.
As a side note, not to change the topic, but so I mentioned El Septimo before.
Yes.
Have you tried one yet?
Yes, I have, but not. I've had it prior, and I don't remember which one I had.
Did you have one of the new ones, or did you have one of the ones with the bigger mirrored bands on it?
The bigger ones.
So I don't remember which one this is, but on the back it says 8-year age tobacco. I don't know if anyone saw it when I was cutting it and lighting it, but this was very interesting. It had that real thin tip to it, like the Hemingways from Arturo Fuente, and it came back up. I've since kind of burned through that now. But it's so damn tight. So damn tight before you actually burn up to it. And it got me thinking, like, I know a lot of it's going to be like for flavor, but why that design on the roll? I just feel like it just kind of, you start off with this really tight tip, and you have to just wait for it to burn through before you can actually get to the full draw of the cigar. And it's like, why not just have the draw right from the beginning?
Yeah, and then there's people say, well, you can cut the tip. I mean, but isn't that defeating the whole purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right on that.
I don't understand. I mean, the Fuente ones are kind of like that too. They're not as bad. Like the between the lines, the short stories, they're not as bad. They're a little more drawable. This was like tight. But once I got like that small little tip burnt, it's smoking much better now. But it's like, why waste my time and ruin my experience? Let me be able to draw through it right from the start.
Right.
I never got that.
It's like those double cap cigars, right?
Look at all the smoke I got now. In the beginning, I had nothing.
Yeah. Those double cap cigars are first of all, they hold moisture, right? So some people put pinholes, but even so, I can't get a draw on those double. They're just pain. I can't get a good draw on those.
But now that I can taste the tobaccos really and get a lot of smoke out of it, it's pretty good.
Listen, they're out of Costa Rica, and I've been to Costa Rica. I've been to one factory down there, not the one that makes El Septimo. Costa Rica is doing some interesting. I mean, they make the Atabes in Costa Rica. The factories are all small down there, and there's a lot of attention to detail, is what I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
With fermentation and stuff like that. And I think that factory, I've had other stuff out of that factory. Um, it's kind of like, do I think I'm getting the like with El Septimo? Do I think I'm getting the value versus where I could go to a Davidoff? I'll put a Nat Sherman Sterling in there or Padron, and you get the same thing. That's kind of where I go with that. I'm not. The answer is no. I don't think it's gonna beat those experiences yet.
No, it's a good cigar. I think they're a little bit higher priced than they should be.
Hmm.
Um, doesn't mean that they're not great. I mean,
It takes a long
and
time
this is
to
my
launch.
first one, so I mean,
Yeah,
so far this is good. I have a whole bunch of samples that I have of all the different colored
yeah.
bands that they make, whatever. But
They, yeah, they need to. They're gonna have an interesting model into the U.S. market. I think. Um, they don't have a face is the problem. They need a face for that
well,
company.
they have Zaya, but
But Zaya's got other business. Like Zaya is not the. Could he be the?
he
He'd
can't
have to be
fully
the.
dedicate his time to it.
He can't fully dedicate his time to it. I think La Polina struggled without Bill Paley as the face. And Sammy's done a good job, but I mean, for a while, Bill was the face, and when he wasn't traveling, it was a problem. But I think El Septimo needs a face, and it can't just be some gimmicky guy doing it.
Hmm.
It's got to be a legitimate guy who's they have, and they brought in some good salespeople right now. They brought Chip in from Ashton, so I mean they're making some, but I still think they need a true brand ambassador, kind of like what General's done.
Right. I think that would be a big help. Having a face, changes everything for every brand.
Yeah,
Um, I
you
think you
do. I
make a
mean,
good point there.
Camacho's got George Remy right now.
Right.
Um, Eddie Guerra's getting out there more for Avo.
Hmm.
So I think you need they're gonna need to face someone who's like it's not gonna be Jose Blanco, but like a Jose Blanco, like on the ground, like when Jose went to EP Carrillo. I mean, he had EP Carrillo front and center in the stores for a while. And he's on the ground and building a ground game like that. And I think they need. I don't know who they can get, but they're gonna need someone with some credentials to do it to make that work.
Yeah, I agree, and I think time will tell with them.
Yep.
And I think they'll learn that too.
Yeah.
That the U.S. market's a little bit different. It's a
It,
little bit more. You gotta remember, America's a little bit more about star power and
and they're
celebrity.
yeah, and Europe's different. It's very different. They don't have the same concept like that. It's rare you have a cigar celebrity do an event in the store. The whole sales model is even different. The idea of reps traveling from hotel to hotel doesn't go on in Europe. It's there's a distributor and they push stuff to the retailers and then the retailers kind of do their thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no such thing as that. They sell to the distributor and then the distributor pushes it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the liquor world too.
Yeah.
Like from what I understand, the distributors have all the control. You know, like for example, people who drink bourbon who know about like the bourbon boom
Right.
that we currently live in that just
Right.
hasn't stopped. Um, these distilleries are trying to, distill whiskey and
Right.
bourbon as fast as they can, as much as
Yeah.
they can. You're seeing, people, one of the perhaps arguably the largest producer of bourbon, Kentucky bourbon, right now that is probably the most well known and most popular and makes the biggest variety of the most sought after stuff. His Buffalo Trace, which is owned by the Sazerac Company. Um, they are currently undergoing a 1.9 or 1.2 something like that $1 billion
Wow.
expansion
Wow.
because they're building more warehouses. They're building more just fermentation and the whole thing, everything, their production,
Yeah.
the aging. I don't know if they have their own cooperage or not, but they're expanding. They're trying to be as big as they can because anyone who knows bourbon, you're looking for something like a couple examples. Blanton's Eagle Rare Weller, Elmer T. Lee,
Yeah.
um, you know, E.H. Taylor, good stuff. And you often see it marked way overpriced in liquor stores. You get it because there's only so much to go around. It's all allocated. Um, and it's sad because there's people out there who pay way too much for it just because it's hard to find, and it's not even like it's super special. I mean, people are paying
Yeah.
high prices for, a low age statement bourbon that's a good bourbon, but it's not a $500 bourbon, but that's what they're paying for it.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough, and you're seeing that more and more. And you have company now. I mean, now that the bourbon boom has started, and that's one of the, I think is one of the biggest differences between like the tobacco industry and like the whiskey industry is that, is look, we know that there's struggles with cigar manufacturers to keep up with demand. That's true.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not downplaying that at all. What I will say is, how much easier is it in comparison? How much easier is it for a cigar manufacturer to catch up and increase their production to get cigars out a little quicker, make up for that, than a whiskey maker who, regardless, has to let that whiskey sit in a barrel for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
You can make more barrels, but your return on investment and your yield on that is much longer. You know,
Yep.
um, I just think that's very interesting. Not to really go lost on a tangent there, but
No, I agree. I think it is too.
it's true. And
Yeah.
we have seen the cigar manufacturers struggle with production, especially in the last year. Huge boom happens. I remember in the beginning, listening to the Cigar Authority, Dave, Barry, and Jonathan. I remember I think it was Barry and Dave who really got into this uh specific discussion on, at the time it was like around May of last year, May or June. So we were already kind of really full-fledged in the pandemic, and they were kind of going back and forth on the Cigar Authority one day, and the conversation was, are we going to see what we saw in the 90s, where people were just like, harvest, ferment, get it in, roll it wet, put it in the box, get it out, because we just can't even wait. And
I think we're already seeing it. Yeah. I
we
think.
are seeing it.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone's doing it,
No.
but I think we have seen that in the
Yeah. Yeah.
cigar industry now.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah. I think we have. That's a valid. It was a valid debate.
very
Um.
valid. I thought it was very important.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a quality decrease. You know, we've so the Coop team and Aaron. I'll put Aaron and me in this more than maybe Bear and Ben. I don't think that would be fair, or Aaron. So I'll maybe put this more on Aaron and me. We have been very much feeling that this started before the pandemic, that we've seen a decrease in quality over the past since about 2018.
Hmm.
We're just seeing it's like the cigars are not as good. They're not scoring as well. They're just not we're not seeing, especially on the limited edition end. Um, I mean, the limited edition, in my opinion, that market has. You want to talk about the real estate crash? I think the limited edition market has crashed, maybe in terms of quality, not in terms of set. I don't think limited editions are what they were 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It used to be you would work on a limited edition. You'd have a project and you take it from concept to reality, right? Now it's like, what what blend can I pull out of the factory and slap a band on it?
Hmm.
So I mean, the LEs are they're garbage, most of them lately.
Is there any specifics you want to name or no?
Let me name who's doing it right.
Okay.
I think it'll be easier. Black Label Trading Company is
Yeah.
doing it right. They put a lot into their limited editions. They treat these as serious projects. They work hard to get the tobacco procured. They work on the blends. They work on the branding, and they have an annual release cycle where they're not one and done, but they do a small batch production on it. I think they're doing it right. I think that's the way to do it. And when I don't see that, when I don't see a lot of effort put into the branding, that's when I kind of I said, well, what are we doing here? And look, I've been very critical of what I've seen come out of Pravada. I mean, I'm not a fan of what they do. I'm not a fan of their marketing, and I'm not a fan that they're getting great blends either. I just don't see it.
Hmm.
I'm not, I think they have an interesting business model.
They have an interesting business model, but they've had some issues. And,
Look,
and
I'm telling you, I've had some of the cigar. Now, I've had some that are, I've had some that are good, but more I've had of like these are not impressive cigars.
right. I know. I've talked to a lot of people who've been disappointed with some of that stuff from them, as well as a
Oh,
bunch of
and don't
other
get me
issues
started
of theirs.
and their branding. Don't even get me started on that. That's what they're doing is blatant with their branding.
Oh,
They know
absolutely.
exactly what they're doing. They have a
Abs-
model. They have a one and done model, and the worst they'll do is get their hand slapped. Like that cinnamon cigar. I mean, they yeah. How do you not know? How is someone not going to go after you on that?
what about the Alec Bradley release for Dojo, the Dojo Chico?
Uh, that's you put me. All those guys are my friends.
I like those guys too. I like those guys too, and I'm not
I
trying to bash them, but I
they
thought the same
they
thing.
are
I'm
more
like,
okay. All
I
right. So
was
here's a,
worried. I was worried for them. Like, I love the idea. I love Topo myself. But I'm like, I hope this doesn't get them in trouble though, because this is a cool concept. But like, I was thinking about it too.
uh,
Like, it's really close.
um, they are all more creative than that. Honestly, they come up with some great, Eric and all of them come up with great branding. I don't get it. I mean, I understand. I understand there's a story with those guys, but again, I have so much respect for those guys. I don't want to beat them up too much, other than
Absolutely.
I haven't had but it wouldn't be, it was look, and they're not the first to do it either. So I don't know, the fact you see if
I'm not trying to get you in trouble either, and I'm not even
no,
trying to
no, I'm
bash them
not. I'm
myself.
not. I'm not. I'm not. I'll kind of go back. I would have loved to see him come up with something original like they did with Uridosi. Uh, when they came with the Uridosi brand, which was like this leap year cigar. These guys are really creative. I don't see why you had to go that route. I don't. But all those people are so good to me that it's like I just gotta. I have a difference of opinion on it, and so I don't want to beat them up too much on it either because they're good. They're all really good. They're friends. They're all friends of mine. I
Hmm.
just, but I think I would have rather seen something more original done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I both sides, the Dojo and Alec Bradley. I liked it. I like those guys too. And I really liked the concept and idea, and I actually and I want to try. I want to get my hands on it. I know right now it's a Rocky Mountain exclusive, until it opens up. But yeah, I remember looking at that and I remember saying like, oh wow, I can't remember if I had the
But
conversation.
I thought Pravada immediately when I thought that is when I thought Pravada and Ezra Zion. I
Well,
started
that's why I
when I
brought it up because we were just
right.
talking about Pravada does that all the time, and it kind of
Yeah,
reminded me of it. But
yeah. I mean, and I was very critical of the look. I was critical when Nomad Ezra Zion bought Nomad and they started putting Nomad Classic as a Coca-Cola Classic logo they put out there. Like to put a no, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you? You remember the whole story with Dave Garofalo and the Hershey bar?
yes,
Yeah, and he got a cease and desist, and he stopped it, and he never did that again.
yeah,
Right. So there's precedent. I don't want to see anyone. Look, here's the deal. I don't want to see anyone have to get slapped with a cease and desist. That's what I'll just say. Because these guys work hard enough. That's why I don't understand why. Um, so you know, but again, I wish them. I hope they sell every one of them out because they're all good people. But if I'm
me
going to be
too.
critical of Pravada, I got to be consistent on this one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's true.
they're all friends. Yeah, yeah.
You can't take the same issue for two people and shit on one
I
and praise
can't.
the other.
I can't. I can't. So, but I've also had problems with Pravada promoting Sesame Street characters on cigars. So,
Yeah,
they could say they're not Sesame Street characters. Guess what? They're Sesame Street characters.
yeah,
So,
like
so
the Cookie Monster.
yeah. So I mean, it's just I don't understand it in this market, like in this environment. So
Dude, we gotta have Jay Davis on here with us sometime because he just got so much. He's got so much to say.
yeah,
Um, I'm gonna play a little catch up here. So in regards to the previous conversation, when I think of the quality and innovation of new cigars in the period of 2009 to 13 with the Benji, the birth of Liga, and many other cigars that hit the market then were superior to what's been in the market 2018 to today. The rush to market since the deeming regulations in 2016 has a lot to do with it. I don't buy into the BS that this is the golden age of cigars. It's the golden age of new and exciting tobaccos, yes, but innovation is down.
Yeah, definitely. He's right. He's 100%
Mhm.
right on that.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
very interesting take.
there is, yeah.
I would kind of agree with that. I think you're seeing more. You know why? There was a handful of people who did it and did it right, and it was huge. I mean, you look at he might like Liga, Opus X, Davidoff does a lot of like special, releases and stuff like that. Those are bigger companies. They, now you're seeing like everyone try to do like a special release. And there are a lot of good ones out there. I'm not saying that they all suck. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But what I think you're seeing is so many people are doing it and so many people are just calling so many things a special edition that it's like, is it really special though? There's so many special editions out there now.
Right,
Um,
right. I mean, it's
like, do you know
funny.
what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I mean, y- there's, you know, I'll give you like a good example of a limited edition. Okay, my father LEs.
Hmm.
They make those cigars and they make them almost every year, and they put their key thing is they put Pelo de Oro in there, which they don't get a lot of high yield on. And some of those my father's are great cigars, and some of them are duds. I mean, it's just, but I always know that at least that's a good limited edition that's coming out. And I know there's some sort of a tobacco that is harder to get there. So when I hear of the limited edition, but we're not going to tell you what any of the tobaccos are. They're super secret. Well, I'm like,
What's so
really?
secret about
What's so secret
it?
about, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, so and again, when I see, like I said, that's how I would look at it. Um, like I said, I think Black Label does a great job at it. I think Viaje struggles with it sometimes. I think they have some really good limited editions, and I think they have a lot of duds in there too, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, but at least I could say Viaje is creative with what they do. They do think out of the box with that. Um, so again, I think like,
Well, look at Booth. Booth does it too. Booth's got a
yeah,
lot of limited
yeah.
edition stuff, or maybe not limited edition, but just like special stuff that little one
It,
offs. He does a lot of one offs for himself, for others, that I know of, and you know
it,
that's always been interesting too.
here's what I'll say about Pravada, though. Okay, they have the capability to not do this lazy marketing that I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
They tell a good story. Okay, they tell a very good story of the industry. So why not put all that energy into some original thinking? Focus on the tobaccos and stuff like that. I think your members will appreciate it because I mean I don't see why they're coming out with some of the stuff they're coming out with. It's just so gimmicky. Where I think, and like I said, I can like or hate the cigars. That's not my issue. But like if you watch them, if you I don't know if you ever seen their videos. They're very good videos, and they do try to educate people on that.
Yeah,
So I don't see why you're putting this into like this nonsense. That's all I'm gonna say. So that's what I'm saying. I think they could do that story better than having a Sesame Street character
yeah,
or
I agree.
Kentucky, yeah, a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket or something like that. Yeah,
Oh, you're throwing shade at Booth now? Come
I didn't like it. I didn't like the marketing. I'll be honest with you.
on. Ooh, Matthew is not going to be
Well,
happy about
again, if I'm gonna pick on,
that.
like, look, I feel bad. I even
I'm gonna
said what
text him
I.
right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure he'll hear the show. Right? But I hate because all these guys are my friends. But look, I know this is the environment we're in, but I also know that there's some really great creative people, and they know tobacco, and they know how to they have good palates and stuff like that. So I know what they can deliver to the market. I don't understand why this is a route. Maybe I know it's done in the craft beer route. So it's not fair to just pick on the cigar industry. It's done in other industries too. So let me
So
let me ask you, yeah, go ahead.
Well, before you do, I just want to say Dan Thompson comments. I love the Davidoff Chef's Edition. Um, they were they were
I do
bringing
too.
a new twist in the Davidoff world. I haven't had them.
There, let me tell you, some of the last two have ranked in the top 10 on the Coop list.
Wow.
I think it's the best. I think because I think there's really a focus on the flavor of the cigars with those. I think they go through an exercise on that one. Well, I don't think this is like, they have some of these Davidoff Vault editions they slap bands on, right? I get that, right? I don't like
Yeah.
it, but these the chef's editions, in my opinion, the last two have been fantastic. So I agree with Dan on that, and and I've seen some of the videos. They really do incorporate these people into the project, the chefs, which is really good. So
But anyway, you were about to say something.
yeah, what if I took the smoking tobacco logo and I started marketing some sort of a brand of soda with it on it? Like, would you like that? Like, hey, I'm going to take your logo and I'm going to sell a limited edition soda or a limited edition potato chip with the smoking tobacco logo on it. I know I wouldn't like it if someone took the Coop logo and did that.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that okay? That's where I'm kind of going with that.
Well, first of
Yeah,
all, you'd get a letter from my lawyer very quickly.
absolutely. I know it would. Yeah, that's my point.
I made one phone call and
Yeah,
he's got a letter out there for you.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
So that again, I'm very yeah. Exactly. Um, look, I'm always respectful of intellectual property and stuff like that. So you can probably see on the Coop site, every photo is credited.
mhm.
Every photo gets credit. And then the question is, can I use it? If it says photo credit Cigar Coop, I'll give you permission. If it says photo credit XYZ Cigar Company, you got to talk to them because I don't have the intellectual capital on it.
Hmm.
So, and that's how it's done. So, if you're asking me, I can't always do that. Now, I know some companies have a blanket policy that um, it's blanket release. So, if someone will ask me, "Hey, can I use this photo?" and I know there's a blanket policy, I said, "Yeah, go ahead. There's no issue with that." Some don't, is what I'm saying. So,
Hmm.
and that's where a problem happens. And we'll get into a whole intellectual property edition of spare notes. I could go on. That's a whole show I could do.
Yeah, there's no shortage of ideas and things we
Yeah,
could get
yeah,
into
yeah.
on this
That's
show.
yeah.
We have that. We have apparently you can go off on the Boutique Cigar Association, which is an interesting one. We'll have to do a whole show just for that.
Yeah.
Um, Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I have a little bit of a technical thing.
I'm not the only one who thinks that. So
Give me 10 seconds. Yep.
tenants. While Matt's doing that, how is everyone doing tonight in the audience?
Boom. Well, you don't have access to the chats, so you wouldn't know.
No, I know. I have this. You guys see, because I'm standing. I only have one computer, and a tripod, and it's really tough. I can't reach the computers. So, so it's really
Funny,
hard.
it actually cooled off up here because we had a little bit of a heat wave during
Yeah,
the week,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we got rain today, and now
yeah,
it's cooling off. Now we got like
yeah,
62 degrees. From like 2 days ago it was 100, and now it's 63.
yeah,
And I'm like, I want to go put my sweatpants on.
yeah. I don't blame you.
It's just so weird how the weather
Yeah.
reacts here. Um, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about your trip to California. Anything interesting happened on that trip?
Let me just. I'll make this is a quick note. If you're looking to go to the city of San Francisco, basically don't plan on like enjoying a cigar out there. It's by far the of the large cities I've been to. It's the most restrictive, most unfriendly place to smoke.
Really?
I mean, and I'm saying this, New York is a cakewalk compared to San Francisco. At least New York has Davidoff places and the Grand Havana Room, Club Macanudo. There are some stores in the outer boroughs. You can smoke in. There is no place to smoke in San Francisco, indoors, and it's hard outdoors. Is what I'll just say. It is not. It is the most unfriendly. And look, here's the deal. Can you find a place where you could puff on a cigar? Yeah, but again, we're cigar enthusiasts. That's not what we do. It's a little more about the craft and the relaxation when you want to sit there. So I'm just saying, San Francisco, great city, love the city. But if you want to see an example of tobacco prohibition in play, go to San Francisco, and then you'll think otherwise. However, you go over the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, into Marin County, uh, and I was up in a town called, I think it was Mill Valley.
Mhm.
I found this great place called Telford's. Wonderful humidor, a lot of rare to find stuff, and an outdoor area to smoke, which was my only thing. So, it's not all hopeless in California. Out where Aaron is, there's some places in Napa. But San Francisco basically don't plan on smoking there. I went on the Golden Gate Bridge to check a box, and here's the
I
thing.
saw that.
Okay, I felt bad because there were families on there with small children, and it's narrow. Okay, and they're not, look, they're on the bridge to enjoy themselves, right? I don't want to be disrespectful, so I did my thing, and then I got off the bridge. No one gave me a hard time, but it was my decision because, again, there's if I was up there with my kids, do I want, that was just my feeling. But
Yeah,
I
I
had to
get
check
that.
them. Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's like it's a special place to do it, but at the same time, you got to be mindful of those
yeah,
around you.
yeah, yeah.
I
You
get
do,
it.
yeah, yeah. You do. So yeah, don't go out to California for a cigar vacation, or at least don't go to San Francisco. LA was a different story. I've been to LA. LA is not as hard to smoke as San Francisco. There's
What's your
places.
favorite? What's your favorite place in LA?
I tend to like Malibu, which is just
Malibu.
outside of LA. Yeah. So it's one of those coast area cities.
Well, I know about Malibu, California, but I meant like specific like places, like lounges.
There's a place in Glendale, and I think it's called Club Humidor. It's called Humidor or something. It's called the Humidor or something. But there's a place in Glendale, which I love to go smoking.
Yeah.
That's because I've gone out there several times. And Tim Wong would be able to tell me. I know exactly where it is. Um, he, damn, I can't remember the name of the place now. But it's in Glendale. It's right by the
For,
mall.
for those who know, on Instagram, you would know her as Cigar Chase Fire. Her real name's Anna.
Uh-huh.
Um, Sweet lady, awesome, real cool. I've met her a couple of times. Sorry, PCA. She actually just opened up a place in LA called, or maybe it's near LA.
Yeah.
It's called La Biblioteca, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and that's a new place that I think she just opened, and they
Yeah.
actually hosted one of the Rocky Patel Cigar Smoking World Championship. Um,
Puro Humo was the place I go to.
Pro Humo. Okay,
Puro
cool.
Humo, yeah, on Colorado Avenue.
Um, that's a new upcoming place.
I'll
From
have to
what
check. I mean, I don't get out to LA as much as I used to, but yeah, I mean, I was out there about a year and a half ago.
it just kind of thought about it. So
2 years ago, actually.
I thought about this the other day. What is your take on the whole cigar smoking world championship thing?
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I've actually tried it. Um, I think as an industry, we have not done enough to promote it. Um, so I mean, part of it's because it's a European based thing, but I think I mean, these things should all be streamed. I mean, um, but it's gaining traction. So where it was 5 years ago versus where it is now, it's starting to gain some traction. Um, I think it's a great thing at Boston Jimmy is competing, and I wish Boston Jimmy the best of luck.
Last I heard, like a few hours ago, he was the final two in Pittsburgh tonight.
The guy, look, I'm pulling for him, and I think it would be the best thing if he wins this thing because he's media and he
Yeah.
knows how to promote it. So he is really. I mean, he was in Charlotte, and I didn't know he was in Charlotte. He was over at my shop, Tailored Smoke, and that's because I was probably prepping for our shows this week before I was leaving. But yeah, he apparently set an unofficial U.S. record there. Where he's, but so I'm pulling for him, but I think it would be good because I think This is something we should be promoting as an industry.
There is an update. I'm sorry. He came in as a razor thin second.
Oh, sorry, Jimmy. Who
Yeah.
won it? Who won it? Do we know who won it?
Ryan Janis
Okay.
was his name. And he, I guess, will be going to Croatia now, I believe. Is that the
But I
next
think it's
step?
yeah. So I mean, again, it would be someone should be yeah. It's the next step's Croatia. I do know a guy who's competed in Croatia, a guy named Jason Lois. He went a few years ago. We've had him on our show. He's been with a couple of cigar companies. So yeah, I think this is a really good thing. I think it needs to get promoted more. I think it was great when Rocky Patel got involved and created the cigar for them. Because I think he saw something with it. He created a fantastic blend, by the way, for that. On top of that, kind of made my top 25 last year. So
And who made it
I
before
guess
that? Was it Macanudo who made it before?
McAnuna made it before. And I guess there was a new deal struck with them to do Rockies. So I mean, ultimately, if this is something that was promoted. I mean, these again, I think these are things that the PCA and the CRA and all of our trade associations should be promoting right now. It's just good publicity here. It gets more people interested in it, right? So the guy, if you could build up some of these regional competitions next year, then you have retail shops looking to host these things and everything. It could be a win-win. But they've come a long way. In 5 years, this thing was unknown. Nobody knew about this thing. So now it's getting more notoriety.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know about it until Rocky Patel got involved. And I thought it was interesting that he got involved. I think he's a good fit for it too.
Yeah. So Bear and I had this guy Jason Lois. This is going back 2018 on our show. It's special edition, I think 37. And we attempted to do the smoke, right, as they do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I'm just telling you, this is not an easy thing to do. And we learned very quickly how hard it was. I think Cigars already tried it once, and they thought they had the same result as we had. So, it's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's not easy. I remember when it first came out last year, before the events all got canceled. I had signed up to do. Garofalo was going to host one, and I was going to do it. And I signed up and I got the box. And I remember smoking through them, and it's tougher than it looks. I would say a lot of people think that it's simple.
No, it's very hard.
It's very hard because you have to keep it lit. You don't want to smoke it too much, but you can't smoke it too little. You got to smoke it just right. You have to take the right amount of smoke off of it when you do puff it.
Yep.
And then as far as I'm concerned, there was there's certain rule. There's a lot of rules involved too, but there's certain rules about like when you can ash, when you can drink.
Yep.
You have to you can't talk the first 5 minutes or something like that. I forget the breakdown of the rules, but it's very involved. So the fact that even though Jimmy didn't, make it onto the final round there,
the times he was pulling, he's got a lot. I guarantee he'll be back next year.
I mean, if he came in as the overall second place of just like all the people in the U.S., that's pretty damn good.
Great job. Yeah, great job.
Yeah,
he did a great job. I really, I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah, I mean, go for it next year. I mean, you made it that far, go for it again.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
I heard some people, it's kind of weird, making fun of it or whatever, and like, oh, it's smoking a cigar. How is that a competition? It's like, well, it's something new, it's something different.
It's something. It creates. If it's going to create interest, it's going to help smokers. I mean, like Jose Blanco, I guarantee he thinks this is a great thing.
Yeah, it's something new for the industry, and you know what? It also is going to help the industry get more recognition.
Right.
Bring more smokers in.
Exactly. I mean, if every year it seems like it's getting a little more buzz and attention. So this is probably the most. I mean, like I said, I think they'll benefit. They would have really benefited if Jimmy went to Croatia. Unfortunately, they didn't. But it is what it is. I mean, obviously it's a competition. I mean, they should. You know what I would do? I'd call him up. I said, this is what I would do, Jimmy. We want to pay for your way to go there. I'm sure that's not what he's angling for, and cover this thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think having him involved after all of his
I mean, yeah. Whether you like him or not, he first of all he's participated in this thing. He know it's kind of like a guy going and becoming an NFL commentator who's played the game, right? I mean, it's the same thing. You got a guy who's competed. Now you got a guy who's going from a media media standpoint. I honestly think it would be a great thing if he went there. But he's given it some good publicity, and he's given it some attention on social media. I guess I'm really happy he's done well.
Yeah, me too. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I know we have Dan Thompson. Was it? I think. Hold on. I'm sorry. These are moving kind of quick. Dan Thompson. Okay, I'll be the dummy. How does the competition work? Um, Basically, it's a standard. So what is it? It's like a Corona, right? It's not a very big cigar.
Yeah, it's a Maravilla they use.
A
It's five.
Maravilla,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you get that cigar. You gotta cut it. I think you can only light it. You get 2 matches to light it, right?
You get 2 matches a
You
lot.
can't use a lighter.
Yep.
Has to be a straight cut.
Yep.
You get 2 matches to light it. Once it's lit,
That's it.
that's it. If it goes out, you're out. There's no relighting.
Yep.
If it goes out, you're
But
done.
the idea is keep it lit as long as you can. Keep it burning as long as you can.
Keep it burning as long as you can. Also, if I remember correctly, if you get to the band, you're done.
Yes.
So the idea of the game is to keep it lit.
Yep.
Don't let it go out. Keep it lit. Smoke it as slow as you can.
Yep.
And keep it away from that band for as long as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's where the whole strategy of like how much and how often do you puff on that cigar? Because if I remember correctly, the first 45 minutes, I think they tell you like how often you can. No, I'm sorry, puff it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ash it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you break the ash before you're allowed to,
you're out.
No. From what unless it's changed. My original understanding was you're in, but you'll be penalized with
I think you're right.
with with like a deduction of time. Like they'll take away 5 minutes.
I think there's something along those lines. There's some penalties versus some
to a certain point, from what I understand. After a certain amount of time, I think ashing is fair game, and it's up to you to strategize on that. But like the first like hour or half hour, something like that, like you can't break it. And then like every like few minutes after that, it changes until I think it becomes just free reign.
Yep.
But there's a limit on that in the beginning. So there's a lot of rules about it. I think it's on the Rocky Patel website. Since they're the one making the cigars and kind of sponsoring the event, so to speak. Where you can read about it. It's on there.
Yep.
And I remember there was like 20 lines on the rule list. I was like, wow, this is pretty involved for a cigar smoking thing.
No, definitely. And I think they provide a great cigar too. So
cigar was pretty good.
In my top 20. I'm in my top 20. It started the big run, Rocky's big run on Coop. He's had some high scores on Coop the last couple years.
Yeah.
He's doing some very good stuff right now.
What did you think about his new releases he debuted at the trade show?
Fantastic. The only one I haven't smoked is the Disciple, but the White Label and the 60th are continuing this great streak he's had.
Yeah.
There's something about what Rocky's doing with San Andreas right now at a Nicaraguan factory. I don't know what magic magic. I don't know if he's gotten really good tobacco or if he's really doing good fermentation, but the World Championship cigar, the quarter century, the Winter Collection, and now the 60th are all using the San Andreas wrapper, and they're all smoking fantastic. The White Label is going to be a player. It's gonna be a little more premium, but it's a great Connecticut shade cigar. So I the only one I haven't smoked is the Disciple, which I have still. So I thought he had a great trade show.
Now let me ask you this question. As we get into we're almost at the fall now at this point. Where it's almost September.
Right.
Winding down.
Right.
Do you have any front runners for cigar of the year yet?
Yeah. I do.
Do you want to share any of those? Do you want to keep them kind of locked?
No, I mean, they're you can look on the site. They're the highest scoring ones right now. I would say Adventura, Queen's Pearl is up there. I would say the Rocky Patel Winter Collection and the Quarter Century are definitely up there as well.
Yeah.
So I think those three are doing extremely well. Crux had the Maduro Corona Gorda. And people may say, well, these aren't 2021 releases. Well, the window works different on Coop, right? So,
what is your window?
basically,
I know, but I want the audience to hear.
no. Okay, basically, what it is the cutoff date for any new releases is the day before the trade show, and we go 2 years back from that cutoff date.
Everything
So,
2 years before the day before the trade show.
yeah. Oh, I'll give you another. Go ahead. I'll give you a surprise one. Perdomo firecrackers in there. Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a couple of those today, actually.
Fantastic cigar. So
Mm.
so for example, the trade show started on July 9th. The cutoff date July 8th. So the idea for folks who've been out in the audience, why do I go like that? Because what happens is all this stuff gets released after the trade show, right? And if you try to do a calendar window with this, right, you're smoking stuff that is in this compressed window from now until like late November. And it was too compressed. And the other problem is that some of that stuff like doesn't have enough time to acclimate. Like I wanted every cigar to have the same amount of time, minimum time in the humidor, things like that.
Right.
So it just became a cluster. Like Matt, we can get into Aaron and I've gotten into this with Aaron a lot on our shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that aggravates me more when I see a cigar hit the store December 1st, and 20 days later, someone puts out that list and that cigar is on the list. You can't tell me that cigar is told its story, because it needs to have some acclimation. So
well, what I think you're trying to say is you believe that cigar needs more time to be out on the market to reach more hands than it
right.
would in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. What about the cigar that came out in January that's been performing consistent for 8 or 9 months, throughout the year, or throughout the whole year, it's performing consistent? Why is that, why should that cigar be penalized? Because something came out, and because sometimes I can tell you there's some cigars I've reviewed in like February, right? And then when I smoke them again for the final countdown, they nosedive. I had one cigar fall from number 1 to number 11. So it happens.
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, things change in the course.
Like, would you say? Here's a good example. We're Fuente smokers, right?
Yeah.
I think the rare pinks are smoking better over time than when they first came out.
I would agree with that.
So yeah,
I got a box
right
when they came out. I tried it. I was like, it's good, but it wasn't exactly what I hoped for. I let that box sit, and I'm smoking them now, and I'm like, whoa, what a difference.
Here's a good point. When did those cigars come out? They came out in December, right? Mm-hmm. So there's people, and we can have a lot of this. Aaron's I've had a ton of discussions on this. They want to smoke it because they want to smoke it to get it on the list, and then they like the company, right? So they put it on the list, right? And that cigar has no business on the list, right? So, and there's a lot of bias that goes into list, Matt. I mean, so here's a good example. Saka stuff people will smoke before Rocky Patel stuff, who are doing these lists, because people like Saka. And I said, well, if you're smoking the Saka stuff and you're not smoking the Rocky Patel stuff, you're missing out on something, in my opinion. Because I thought the Rock. So that's why, it's like I said, that's why I have some crazy rules. But the idea is to show performance. And I think I talked about this when I was on with you and Nicole, how the idea is to show performance over time.
Yes.
Just like if you went back and bought the cigar over and over again. That was kind of like my rationale with it. So,
well, think of it like, here's like an analogy, right? Like a rookie of the year, right?
Right.
Let's say he's there on opening day.
Right.
And, the first week, he's like leading the league in home runs.
Right.
Stolen bases, RBIs. Does pretty good for the, into June. Maybe he's not number one, but he's top. He's in there. Gets to the All-Star break, and then he kind of tanks.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, you're like, oh, well, he got Rookie of the Year because, like, in the first month, like, he was the best home run hitter in the whole league. Well, yeah, but that was for the first month. What did he do all season?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. So I think with cigar, it's the same thing. you don't make someone rookie of the year or give them the MVP award for something that played a partial season. So the idea is that the cigar that's out for 15 to 20 days, right? How does that like show performance over time for a cigar that was released in January, February? So that's why I put some of these are things I observed and practices over the years. But what happens is like I see people. This is where there's a bias in the media, cigar media, right? They like certain brands. They're gonna smoke those brands first, and because of the arbitrary calendar cutoffs, there's some very good cigars that are often missed,
Right.
and that's I think the problem. Um,
So I mean, this is a really good topic to have because I mean, we are getting up close ish
yeah,
to Cigar of the Year season. And it's a nice reminder of letting people know who follow these lists, you know, kind of how it works and what kind of goes into it and what is eligible and what's not. And there's people like, oh, well, he didn't have this on there. Like, why didn't he have this in the?
right.
That's stupid. If he had this on the list, this would have won. First of all, that's not
Oh,
necessarily true, but
yeah,
also that cigar maybe was ineligible.
right. Like shop exclusives, for example, are ineligible on Coop, right? Single store
Mhm.
releases. Perdomo Firecracker is not a single store release. People think it is. It was distributed by United. So but the best thing is like, oh, I released a cigar, and I said, when you release your cigar? Well, August. Well, it's not eligible till next year. Well, I didn't know that. I'm like, well, did you read the criteria? Like, it's there's got to be
Very true. Very
they
true.
no one wants to read the criteria. Oh, we didn't understand the criteria. Stop. You didn't understand the criteria. You didn't read the criteria. Don't say you didn't understand it. It's pretty basically, and we've been doing this for 3 years right now. So, or your cigar's not that good. If you meet the criteria, you're not. Well, why did I make the list? Well, I met the criteria. Yeah, but your cigar wasn't good. Scored an 89. It scored an 89. Like, wait, like this is one manufacturer every year. Where did I land on the list? And I'm like, I don't even answer you, right? Because like you're not obviously not. I didn't review any of your product this year. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I last year a lot of people know, I'll admit now we weren't ready to do a cigar of the year. We weren't
you and I have talked. We knew what was going to happen. Unfortunately, with
yeah.
that. Uh,
However, this year we're much more able to do it. Now, even though we don't do um a lot of reviews and we're building our review department right now with some other people,
right.
we're still going to release a cigar of the year, manufacturer of the year, person of the year. We have awards we are going to give out this year. We have already put into place a system that we feel will not only, put that together the right way, efficiently, correctly, fairly, but we're gonna do a good job with that. Because I still think that regardless, we're still part of the media and we still have comments, concerns, and we judge things, and we've kind of put a plan in place where we can do that the right way, and it'll be much better than we did before, because it'll be a little bit more traditional is what I'll say, but it won't be a digital poll. It won't be something that the public votes on again. We learned our lesson with that. I'll admit, everyone has to learn lessons in
You
anything they
handled that.
do.
You guys handled it well. You guys really did.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, we handled the fallout well and we learned from it, and I think that's the biggest thing. You can make mistakes as long as you learn from them.
and the
Um,
way, yeah. I mean, it was unfortunate, but like I said, you know, like I said, there's it's tough. It's very tough, those things. And then what things out of your control. Unfortunately, now you have a little more control over it. So, and you have the processes. And the best advice I'll give anyone is if you're going to be subjective on it, right? Which have criteria. Otherwise, everyone's fair game when we do a show every year where we beat the media people up with all the criteria. So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
I even have criteria in place already
yeah.
for how certain awards are going to be given out, what makes certain cigars, people, manufacturers, etc., what makes them eligible. So that's how we're doing it, And more information on that in terms of smoking tobacco will be available, as the months, continue to
Yep.
grow on us here.
Yep.
But Cigar Coop already, have done that. His criteria is already out.
Yeah, I mean the list is different than the other things are voted by the panel of the team members, but the list is subjective. Ben and I have been talking about what we're gonna do for him. And we're probably not gonna have a list this year for him because you got to have cigars reviewed to be on the list. At least that's how we look at it. So next year we may have two lists. I don't know what we're gonna do yet with that, but this year will be just my list, which is I call it like Mr. Blackwell's list of fashion. It's kind of like my deal. So we'll see.
There's going to be, I will say this now, because I can. It's on the record. Our stuff will go by a panel as well. There's going to be a blind tasting panel, with a similar criteria to Cigar Coops, because I know he's cool with that. I'm gonna maybe steal some of his
Yeah, I mean,
his plays.
yeah, that's fine.
But and there'll be a panel, or there'll be a group of people who will blind taste, and that's how it'll be picked. No public voting with the names. And then in terms of that's for cigar, any cigar related stuff. And then in terms of kind of other awards, that'll be, there'll be a list of, people, places, or whatever, that are, going to be put together based on, who we feel should be on there, who's eligible. And then it'll be voted on internally. Not like just like Nicole and myself, like the people who are connected to us.
Right.
Like Coop, Coop will probably be a
Oh,
part of this too, and I'm sure he'd love to. But
I'll be
the point is, it'll be done fair,
yeah,
and it'll be done a little bit more structured, and we're better equipped to do it now.
yeah.
And we will, because we want to do it because, and it's great. It's great to give out awards. Coop will say that himself. I mean, he can
No,
tell
it's
you.
great. It's great. I mean, it's fun to give those out at the show. So I mean, it's great.
It's a great thing to do, and it's great for the people who get it. No matter what it is, getting an award is always cool.
I agree. I agree.
But it's, as long as it's done the right way and it's done. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a hiccup. As long as it's done fair, I think that there's no issue with that. So
I agree. I agree.
we will be part of that realm as well. Coop, we have been on here for 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Yep. And I gotta
Not
get some dinner before
not
everything closes here.
not quite a prime time episode,
No,
but
but we're heading in that territory. It was good, a lot of fun tonight.
is there anything else that you want to hit on before we close up?
No, I think we got everything.
We got a lot. I think this is probably one of our
Yep.
longest episodes.
That's okay. It was a lot of fun.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so guys, thank you for watching with us. Thank you for listening at home, wherever podcasts can be found. Don't forget to go find us on social media: Facebook,
Absolutely.
YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and then as well as subscribe and download wherever podcasts can be found. Don't forget to go to smokeandtobacco.com for all of the latest on the cigar industry, as well as Cigar Coop, to get the scoop with Coop. Coop, thanks for being here with me again.
Thank you very much. Yep.
And
A lot of fun.
it's always a pleasure to be with you, Coop. And then, as always, stay tuned for another episode of the Smoking Tobacco Show, Thursdays at 7 p.m. and Eastern, as well as Coop.
Episode 200 of Primetime is on this Thursday, so
Don't miss that. And that's
Yep.
after the Smoking Tobacco Show.
Yep.
And
Yeah, we'll have Corey Bapper from Oliva, CEO, is going to be on. So
what time is your show start? It's 10
p.m.
Eastern, right?
10
Yeah,
p.m.
so
Yep.
10
So y'all
Eastern.
time to grab a little thing to eat, and then you could go catch Matt before dinner and me after dinner if you're in certain time zones. Yep.
Coop usually watches me while he's having dinner.
Yeah,
his show.
I have. Yeah. If I'm not napping, then sometimes I have to take a nap before that 10 o'clock show. But yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Naps are always important.
there's sometimes you need that. So
All right, guys. Well, thank you for being with us as always, and we will see you next time. All right, we're off.